Making beds? That's like the lowest of the low jobs at a hotel. Are you just some low-tier part-timer at a hotel? With that, my daughter-in-law openly mocked me. I'd love to get along with my son's wife, but it's tough when she's openly hostile. I invite you to join me in the mother-in-law's counterattack. My name is Karen. I'm turning 65 this year. I currently work at a hotel twice a week. But that's not all. I also live at the hotel. I lost my husband to illness 3 years ago. We had our fights when we were young, but as our sons grew up, we enjoyed many peaceful moments together. I was grateful for my kind husband and felt happy. Losing my beloved husband so soon was a major shock, and I found myself zoning out more often. My sons were worried about me. About 6 months later, I realized I had to get moving, so I started with walking. Then, I decided to help out at the hotel I had a long history with. I used to be a writer, a struggling author to be exact. I've had a long relationship with this hotel. A detective story I wrote when I was 40 became a series. For several years after that, I was extremely busy and often holed up in this hotel. It was my go-to place, both for work and private getaways with my husband. I was close friends with the manager and his wife, who would occasionally check on me after I lost my husband. I decided to spend my twilight years living at this hotel during my monthly chats with the manager and his wife. I began preparations after the first anniversary of my husband's death, and now I call one of the rooms my home. I still have our old house filled with memories of my husband and sons. My eldest, who's single, still lives there. The manager arranged a part-time job for me in the hotel because I wanted to stay active. The job involves making beds and cleaning rooms, always done in pairs at this hotel. A veteran female worker paired up with me, a total newbie, and taught me the basics. We'd chat and laugh as we worked, but we never stopped moving. The job was physically demanding, but it felt great to clean up the rooms, and I learned a lot. My sons, seeing me slowly regain my spirits, seemed to be relieved. I have 2 sons, the reserved elder and the outgoing younger one. They're different, but get along well. Steve, who's 32 and employed, recently got married. Lowell, 2 years his junior, has had a long-time girlfriend named Ezra, and they've been married for 5 years. Ezra is bright and natural, and we get along without any pretense. On the other hand, Steve is serious and reserved. He's never brought a girlfriend home before. Out of the blue, my son Steve introduces Alice, his girlfriend who is 3 years his junior. Alice's dad is the CEO of a local company. I know the company well, as it's located near the hotel I'm staying at. Living in a small town, you realize how unexpectedly paths cross. Steve and Alice met through friends. Given Steve works at a well-known corporation, it's no wonder her parents readily accepted him. She's beautiful, and I initially thought, wow, what a lovely daughter-in-law we're getting. But when the mask came off, this daughter-in-law had a dual personality. After they got married, The couple moved into my house. I had shifted to the small guest house on my property when I began my hotel life, freeing up the main house for them. It seemed like a natural transition. Newlyweds and inexperienced in love, Steve made me worry. So I decided to use my guest house as a home base for a while. We share the property, so they drop by occasionally. Steve even invites me over for dinner. Karen, your place is tiny. No bathroom even? So you have to come into the house, huh? Kind of an inconvenience, don't you think? I'm sorry, but I do have another place. Once you two settle in, I'll move. Did you get an even smaller apartment? You better pay your own rent, okay? Listen, Alice. Also, that white vinegar under the kitchen sink, it smells. Can I throw it away? My husband loved pickles, so I'd always have white vinegar for making them. Steve loves them too, so I was hoping to pass that on to Alice. She scoffed. Homemade pickles? How cheap! And they smell. Either get rid of it or you can take it, Karen. Whenever I mention my daily walks for health, she goes, I belong to an exclusive gym, you know. Must be sad to not even afford a gym. She only belittles me or talks rudely when it's just us two. In front of Steve, she'd be all, how lovely to keep white vinegar because Dad loved it. And about walking, she says, walking is popular and good for you. That's why Karen looks so great. Her behavior changes around me, but she's always sweet around Steve. It makes everything more difficult. About a year has passed since Steve got married. My long observation concludes that Alice seems liked by men and disliked by women. Even when she meets my second son and his wife, she wears a mask, but told me, I can't stand women like Ezra. She's just naturally stupid. Don't say that. She's a good-hearted girl. A little ditzy, maybe, but that's fun. You're defending her because you're equally low level. Well, you two should get along then. I couldn't stand her speaking ill of my other son's wife. No wonder she doesn't have female friends. She once boasted about having many male friends who'd do anything for her. When I casually asked Steve, he said his wife Alice often goes out with friends. Steve made it sound like she's just hanging out with her girlfriends, but I couldn't help but wonder. I was curious about their marriage, but my son didn't seem distressed, so I decided not to pry. One day, as I was getting ready for my part-time job, Alice paid me a visit. It was rare for her to come alone, so I was a bit surprised. Oh, what brings you here? Karen, you're free today, right? Could you come over to our house and receive a package for us? She had just assumed that I was free. Actually, I have work today. Sorry, I can't help you with that. Hearing this, Alice raised her voice in disbelief. What are you talking about? It's just a part-time job. What I'm asking is more important. I snapped back. My job is important too, you know. I have responsibilities. I was irritated. I've always respected the hotel where I work, and I like the people there. I don't need to work for money, but I want to continue as long as they'll have me. And I was already frustrated with Alice looking down on me for having a part-time job. Does she really think I'm struggling financially? She got mad at my refusal and retort, saying, "What's the big deal? I have an appointment later. I need to receive a gift that's coming tomorrow." I wasn't really concerned, but I asked anyway. "A gift? From whom?" "What does it matter to you? It's for a friend. Stop prying into my private life." "Then please don't ask me for personal favors. Either change your meeting time or specify the package delivery time." Before I knew it, it was time for me to head to work. Alice, not getting her way, seemed fuming. "Oh, you're so useless. That's why you can only do part-time jobs. What can you even do?" "I make beds at the hotel and I also clean." Hearing this, she burst out laughing. "See, I knew it. Making beds, that's the lowest job at a hotel. You're just a bottom-tier part-time worker, huh?" That was the last straw. Her mocking me was intolerable. Cleaning is a noble job, especially in a top-tier hotel. It's a professional service. Some have even been featured on TV shows. Arguing with her any further felt pointless. Ignoring whatever she was saying, I pushed her out the door and headed straight for the hotel. "Wait, what are you doing? Stop!" A few days later, I was having lunch at my younger son's house.
"Mom, you look tired. Is everything okay?"
Lowell made that point, and I finally opened up to them about Alice. I've always thought something was off with Alice. She probably thinks I'm an idiot too."
"Exactly. She's nice and all, but I've been worried because you said so. Big Bro jumped into marriage without much dating experience."
Ezra seemed to have noticed Alice's true nature. I was amazed by Ezra's insight, who seemed so easygoing but still realized he was being looked down upon. "So, Karen, what do you want to do? We can help you if you're struggling."
"It might be hard to talk to Big Bro about it."
After thinking it over, if Alice and Steve are happy together, then there's no need to ruin that happiness. When I asked him if everything was going well last time, he nodded. He wasn't very clear, though. I said that, and they responded,
"Big Bro's always been independent, so let's just keep an eye out. If something happens, we'll be here to talk."
"Karen, if anything terrible happens, please speak up anytime." They both assured me emphatically. "Thank you." I smiled, feeling a sense of relief from the ongoing stress. Thanks to them. One day, I got a call from the hotel manager. They wanted me to attend an award ceremony for new authors at the hotel as a guest. I heard the new author loves my work and mentioned my name as a writer they'd like to meet. There would be a casual party after the ceremony, featuring samples of the hotel's new desserts, and they invited the whole family. The editor-in-chief, aware that I had taken a break after losing my husband, asked the friendly manager to contact me. This could be a good opportunity. So, I immediately accepted and decided to invite both of my sons and their spouses. So I reached out to Steve and Lowell. The award ceremony had ended and I was taking a short break. When I walked into the venue, there were already a bunch of people enjoying some hors d'oeuvres and chatting. I spotted my eldest son and his wife among them. "You got here pretty early." As I approached, Alice's face looked flushed. Perhaps she had already had some drinks.
Oh, Karen, you look extra fancy today. I just love parties.
She's in a good mood. She looks me up and down with a smirk.
Trying hard, huh? Is that dress a rental?
Looks cheap. Mine's designer. Why are you even here? Whether it's the alcohol or something else, Alice starts throwing insults one after another, even in front of Steve. I had told Steve not to go into detail about the invitation with Alice. I wonder if she thinks she got invited just because she's the boss's daughter. Shouldn't you head home, Karen? I'm used to these events, but you must feel out of place. Her condescending remarks begin to stir whispers among the crowd. Some are glaring at Alice. Others are chatting quietly amongst themselves. The one who's out of place is you. That's when my younger son and his wife make an appearance, and Ezra says it cheerfully. What? Alice glares intensely at Ezra. Ignoring the gaze, she continued. Alice, what are you even talking about? You do know that Karen is a famous author, right? What? You know she has a whole study filled with her published works, right? What? Alice looks utterly confused. You do at least know the Detective Komachi series? That was adapted into a drama, right?
What? Detective Komachi?
Author? Alice's eyes widen. It seems she's heard the name before. Let's forget about this old gossip. You're being a nuisance. Let's go to my room. I say that and exchange glances with Steve and Lowell. Alice, led by Steve's hand, looks confused. I bow deeply, leave the room, and we all head up to the semi-suite room. Welcome to my room. I say this and give Alice a warm smile.
What do you mean, your room?
I mean exactly that. I mentioned having a second home, right? This room is it. I live in this hotel.
What? No way! There's no way you can afford a place like this if you're just doing part-time housekeeping.
I do housekeeping in this very hotel. Oh, I get it now. Alice spoke with an air of self-assurance. You know, I don't know if it's your boss or someone else, but you managed to get us into this party and even booked this nice room. Are you sure you can afford all of this on your part-time salary? Oh boy, she's clueless. Did she completely forget what Ezra told her? Is she like a bird that forgets after taking 3 steps? Or does she think I'm some part-time worker, separate from the author? Look, I'm an author. I haven't released a New York work in years, but like Ezra just said, I have a home filled with my publications. You've seen them. What? You're an author? You have books? She probably never paid attention to begin with. Her tone suddenly became stammering. I have royalties and I've invested in stocks, thanks to advice from my husband when I had a bestseller. I'm fully covering the room cost, you know. Been doing it for 2 years now. What? I've told you a few times that I've been writing, but you never really listen, do you? True. Alice never really pays attention to anything but herself, and that's why we're here. I've frequented this hotel since my early days as an author. I've written multiple series here. The party earlier, there was an award ceremony for newbie authors, and I was invited as a guest. We were invited to the party as a thank you. Finally grasping the situation, Alice's alcohol-flushed face quickly turned pale.
Wow, Alice, you really didn't know? That's pretty ignorant.
Ezra just says it like it is. There's no malice in her tone, which makes it almost comical. Lowell is holding back laughter, and so is Steve.
I can't believe I'm hearing this from someone like you.
Alice fumes at being called ignorant by the very person she looked down on. I kept a straight face, although I wanted to laugh. It's not that laughter isn't allowed. I just want to keep things classy to the end. Anyway, I'm done being belittled and bossed around by you. I'll move my things into the study and continue living here, just like you wanted. Living in a hotel is safe and convenient. Utilities are included. Cleaning and laundry services are provided. And it's close to everything. Transportation is convenient, and shopping is not a problem.
Wait, mother-in-law, why didn't you tell me earlier?
What? I heard a suddenly flattering tone and looked around to see where it was coming from. Alice, that's a quick change of heart. Ezra and my son's wives are speechless.
I think the president's daughter, me, and a wonderful mother-in-law like you would make a perfect match. Looking forward to getting along better.
Alice grins. I offer a forced smile. So convenient for her. As I've said, it's too late for flattery.
Don't say that. I'm the wife of your precious eldest son.
A pretty reckless wife at that.
Up until now silent, Steve suddenly interjected.
You always told me you were hanging out with your girlfriends, but it turns out you were mainly spending time with other men.
The cold tone in Steve's voice had Alice looking panicked.
What?
It took me a while to gather evidence. You seem to have spent quite a bit on one guy you met at a club.
I was shocked by this revelation, and so were our son and daughter-in-law next to me. Club? We figured her friends might be male, but we didn't expect her to be frequenting clubs. Now it makes sense. The gift she had to give the next day was probably for this guy she met at the club. Everything clicked.
I was shocked to see how disrespectful you were to my mother today. All the stuff you told me was just lies.
Steve sounded sorrowful, and it broke my heart. I thought it was fine to keep my distance as long as they were happy. But if even my son was deceived, that's another story.
What are you talking about? What club?
Alice tried to play dumb, but Steve was having none of it.
Let's go home. We need to talk about getting a divorce.
What? No way!
Steve turned to me and Lowell.
I've been a burden, haven't I? I'm sorry.
And then let Alice out.
Wait! You've got it all wrong! Help me, please!
Alice's desperate call for help echoed in vain. Later, Alice desperately tried to persuade Steve to reconsider the divorce, but his mind was made up. That sudden announcement shocked me, but when I had ambiguously asked how things were, he had already been suspecting Alice's infidelity. She had claimed to be hanging out with girlfriends, but was actually seeing other men and even squandering our household money at clubs. Steve had no intentions of revealing this until he had solid proof. Alice had to pay spousal support for her infidelity and was disowned by her own parents after crying to them. Both her parents and my son had evidence against her. As for me, I later visited the hotel and the editorial office to apologize. The current editor-in-chief used to handle my work and asked if I'd consider writing again. It's an opportunity to write short essays for a magazine. Maybe I'll shift it to a monthly series if it's well received. The recent award ceremony had inspired me, and I felt honored to still have a loyal readership. Yet, I know that without intrigue, my writing will never resonate with people. I felt my body tense up. Perhaps I'll write about the travels Lowell and I have enjoyed. It might be interesting to conduct new interviews and introduce various things related to the season. I've been impressed by professionals in various fields, so maybe that's another angle to explore. Or maybe these would be better as stories rather than essays. And just like that, a new story idea struck me. For the first time in a while, I felt a thrilling mix of tension and excitement.